Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody. Sorry, we're running a little bit late. My name is Tracy Williams. I'm one of the directors of the Northwest Sydney Football Board and also a member of the Women's World Cup 2023 and Beyond Working Party, who's put this event on for tonight. So tonight is the second webinar series that the Working Party has put together. And we've coincided that with the Female Football Week. Hopefully your clubs are doing some wonderful activities around female football. And I hope everyone enjoyed Mother's Day and anything that came out from your clubs around that yesterday. We finally got some nice weather, which was lovely. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Please stay muted unless you're asking a question. We're going to have a bit of discussion time at the end. Any questions you have, you can either put in the chat or you can raise your virtual hand in Zoom. And Emma's keeping an eye on that. And so she will interrupt as we go. And just to let you know, as you would have seen as it popped up, is that this meeting is being recorded. We'll upload this to our YouTube page as we did with the last webinar back in, I'm going to say March. So before we get started, I'm going to just pass over to Jodie, who is going to do acknowledgement of country.
Thanks, Tracy. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We acknowledge the traditional owners on the various lands that we are this evening and come together this evening. If you're in the Ryde City area, then you are on the traditional lands of the Wallamedigal people of the Eora Nation. Tonight, I'm coming to you from the lands of the Darug people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and a specific howdy tonight to any Aboriginal people joining us this evening. We acknowledge continued connection to the lands and waterways of New South Wales, and also acknowledge always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Thanks, everyone. Have a great seminar.
Thanks, Jodie. So as I said earlier, this is the second of 5 webinars that we've organised or are in the process of being organised by the Women's World Cup 2023 and Beyond Working Party. So tonight is the football parent. So the series is really designed to improve the experience of current players and coaches and managers, referees, administrators, anyone who's involved in the female game, by getting people to discuss relevant issues and topics that are related to female participation. So tonight's webinar is certainly not about telling people how to parent or providing parenting advice. Any of the comments made by the panel members are those of their own and not of Northwest Sydney Football, because I know that parenting can be a controversial topic, but really tonight is about bringing the important role of parents in supporting females in the game to the forefront and discussing as a group ideas and solutions to common issues that we see and that, you know, both parents and players face playing football as a female. So the last 3 webinars of this season, you can see the dates on the screen there. So we're going to go through wellbeing and balance, confidence and resilience of the first Monday of each of the upcoming months on Zoom again. And so information about the speakers and those topics in more detail will be sent in due course. So keep an eye out for those. But on to tonight. So the role, as I said, of the football parent was included in the series due to the significant impact parents obviously have on children and young people who play sport from the obvious practical and financial perspective, but just as importantly, a social and emotional support and modelling perspective in terms of sportsmanship and also volunteering. So it is my great pleasure that we are joined by 3 guest speakers this evening for our panel discussion. They all have different experiences and perspectives, but they all have one thing in common, that they are all parents, and they're parents who have children and young people playing or participating at some level in the game, as well as parents who are also active participants and supporters of the female game. So they're not, as I said, not parenting experts, but they have a wealth and breadth of knowledge that we thought could contribute to the discussion tonight. So to introduce our panel, I'd like firstly to introduce Kelly Jones. Do you want to give us a wave, Kelly? Thank you. So Kelly has been refereeing, or she began her refereeing career at the Gladesville Hornsby Football Referees Association, now known as the Northwest Sydney Football Referees Association. Since then, she has gone on to referee at a state and national level and is our most successful female referee. So this season, Kelly refereed her 50th A-League women's game, which is an exceptional achievement. And Kelly is the proud mum of two wonderful children, Mason and Logan. Denise Robinson, give us a wave. Everyone probably knows you, but Denise is the women's football manager at Northwest, and she was part of the original Northwest Sydney Women's Football Association staff before we merged a couple of years ago. Before her paid administration work, Denise started playing football in high school, and she continues to play now in West Pennant Hills women's team. Her daughter Brooke has played all her life as well, and Denise has taken on many different roles supporting Brooke's football career, including the obvious coaching and managing roles. So she brings a breadth of knowledge, we appreciate her time. Her internet connection is not fantastic today, so if she has to turn off her camera, please bear with us. And finally, Alison Lloyd. She started coaching football at school level when she was teaching at an independent boys' school. When her eldest daughter, Evie, first started playing under 6, she took up the coaching role of the team because, like many, no one else would do it. So now she is passionate about female inclusion within the football space. Alison plays herself along with her 3 kids, Evie, Trixie and Maverick. And Alison is also a member of our Women's World Cup 2023 and Beyond Working Party. She's a member of Epping Football Club Committee. She coaches her son's under 6 team. She manages her daughter's representative team, and she is her middle daughter's #1 supporter. So she is very busy, and so we appreciate, Alison, you giving us your time tonight to join us. So how tonight is going to work is, sorry, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen just so people are bigger on the screen as we do a bit more of a kind of a panel discussion. Hopefully that stopped sharing. Can someone nod at me? Yes, thank you. So we've got a couple of different kind of themes, I guess, tonight for the panel discussion. And we're just going to kind of direct questions at our 3 panel members. Some will answer questions about each theme, some will be part of some themes and not others. And as I said, Emma's there monitoring the chat. And if you want to put your hands up and ask any questions or anything, that please feel free to do so. So really, like, our first theme is supporting girls and young women to participate in sport. So we know the research tells us that the early stages of children playing sport should be about participation and participation only. And it's not just about participating in one sport, but it's providing a range of different sports to improve their physical and social skills. So I guess the question to the panel to start off with was this the case with you when you were starting out? And also, how about your own children? So Alison, we're going to start with you. Your kids are still quite young. Have they been exposed to a breadth of different sports, or have they been they've been football focused?
So I apologize for the noise in the background for starters, because I do have 3 of them here being a little bit crazy at this time of night. But to be honest, they sort of followed their big sister's footsteps. So she started just by chance being invited into a football team, and then the other 2 sort of followed. There hasn't been a lot of other sport sort of involvement for them. So my eldest was just ridiculously passionate about wanting to do football, so she just followed that pathway. My second child has explored karate and other sort of sports, but sorry, I don't know if you can hear the
That's fine.
noise.
Part of being the football parent.
It's yeah. But she has just tried for academy tonight, and she's very football focused too, and my little one also for some reason just loves his football too. So I don't know if it is because I have always sort of played football and wanted to be involved in that sense that they've sort of taken that from me a little bit, but they love it. So there's not a lot else other than they really love to run as well. There's not a lot else there other than football for them.
Okay. And Denise, what about you? So Brooke, your daughter, is now a young woman. Was she always football focused at the start, or did you facilitate her trying different sports? And
I did actually. I facilitated her playing a few different sports. One of the things she wanted to do, I think when she was about 5, she came home and said, let's do dancing. And thank God that only lasted 1 week. And then from there she did T-ball for a couple of years. And then I said, I was actually driving past a roundabout and I saw a banner for West Pennant Hills female football, girls football, and I asked if she'd like to play, and she said yes. I think she was 7 at the time and played in an under-10s team, and that first year I think it was touch and go. There was many times I saw her like picking grass or looking for 4-leaf clovers, that type of thing, but by the time they got to the second year, I think I'd put my hand up to be the women's representative at West Pennant Hills, and as a consequence I had to go and find players, and luckily enough for me, a lot of those players were her friends, so we started a new team, and from there it just grew, and she's played it right up. I think she's only been out now for 2 years, but all the way from under 10 to all age 1.
wow.
Long history.
Yes. And what about you, Kelly? For you, as you know, starting out, I'm making an assumption here, but you played before you refereed. And what are you doing with your kids? What's the plan?
So I started playing football too when I was very young, influenced by my brother and my father. But I still participated in many other sports as a child, such as netball and horse riding and swimming before playing football and refereeing. And then with Mason, he's only 3. So we still at the moment encourage him to try many sports and swap it around to keep him entertained. At the moment, he loves tennis, but we always have a football floating around the house somewhere. And his dad plays in the NPL for Spirit, actually. So it's hard for him, for little Mason, to not want to run out on the field. And he has his first set of boots, so he's always kicking a ball and trying to get involved as much as possible as well. So, yeah.
And what do you think playing the other sports for you kind of gave you or taught you as a kid, particularly such a diverse number of sports? Like horse riding is not something that, you know, we hear commonly. So do you think you gained other skills and resilience from playing a diverse range?
It definitely opened my eyes to everything. I remember maybe the whole netball thing, it took me a bit to get into it, and then I was getting too much into it. So then my mother encouraged me to play football because there was a bit more space on the field to run around and get involved. And then, whilst playing, I got a little too much involved. So then that's when they were like, maybe it's now time to go and try refereeing, if I thought I knew all the laws of the game back then. So that's kind of what made me get into refereeing. But yeah, I think it's still definitely good to do a lot of different sports to keep your options open, and then you can find what you actually love and enjoy.
Great, thank you. And so I guess to the other end of the spectrum, so we start with, you know, supporting younger kids and diverse sports and things. We know that participation rates for young women decrease as they progress through high school, particularly in that HSC year and when they move into university. We also know the literature that participating in team sports leads to lower rates of anxiety and depression, as well as better coping skills for adolescents. So I'll start with you, Denise, as a parent, manager, player, volunteer, your whole kit and caboodle. What are some ways that parents, do you think, can support and encourage young women to continue participating in sport, particularly at that kind of getting into young adulthood?
Yeah, I think, Tracy, I was probably in a little bit of a lucky situation whereby I was a sole parent of my daughter, and the teammates, I don't know why this was, but for some reason they'd congregate at my place. And whether that was good or bad, sometimes very noisy, it was kind of, I don't know, I felt like it brought everyone together a little bit more than usual. But what I did find is the girls in that group, the friend group at school, the ones that didn't play sport or carry on to play sport as they got older, seemed to have a lot more difficulties coping, going through to HSC and uni life compared to the ones that did play sport. A lot of them I found become quite reclusive, stayed in their room and concentrated on studies, for instance, and let their sport go. And as a consequence, I kind of think along the way they regretted it, and some got quite depressed. So I got to see a whole gamut of girls and what they were doing in those teenage years. And I think the thing that one thing when I look back we always did was we always remained very positive to the girls, whether they were good players or bad players. I don't think the girls would go home on any given day and think that they didn't contribute. Everyone made everyone, all the team were welcoming and always very positive, giving good feedback regardless. And even when it came to indoor, there were some girls that were quite small, and as they got older wanted to play upper grade, and the smaller ones couldn't keep up. But at the same time, we'd say on the weekend in the winter comp that, she may be small, Amrita, but she's not so great on this big field, but what about when we get to summertime and we play indoor? She's going to be a vital part of our team because she was really quick on the indoor field. So I guess giving confidence and feedback. One of the other things, though, I really noticed is all through every team that she played in, or every season, there was a big following from parents. The ones where the parents didn't get involved were the ones that seemed to have problems with their girls as they got older. So I think being there, showing them that you're interested, and giving that positive feedback, I think really helped. And even more so, I think with my team, especially, or with my girls' journey, I think when it was about 2009, I realised that, there was a game on next to Brooks' game, all age 10 women at Northwest. And I kind of was watching and I was thinking, I think we could play that game. I think at all age 10, that's probably about our level. And so I put together a group of mums, and half of those mums happened to be the mums in Brooks' team. And so that brought that team closer together, and there was like one big happy football family. But at the same token, it gave the mums something to do, and brought a whole group of mums into the football family, and made lots of new friends. And women that thought they couldn't play football, had never touched a football, eventually played, and some of them are still playing today. I think this is our 12th year from that team.
That sounds like you created a bit of a village, a football village. And like we know, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So
yep, absolutely. And the thing too is, along the way, I noticed that a lot of girls had mental health issues and self-esteem issues and eating disorders, all this. I saw it all. And the one thing that I think grounded them and always brought them back to reality was football. And it didn't matter what they went through. If they overcame that, they'd always come back to football and carry on. So I think it was a positive in most of those girls' lives. And today they're all very successful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Kelly, I guess you're the kind of the flip side of that coin. You refereed throughout your time at high school. You made it to the W League panel in your early 20s. So you were kind of really reaching for the stars and really pushing forward during that time where we often see young women drop out of participating. So what kept you interested and what kept you coming back?
So my aim was for the highest honour in getting a FIFA badge in either indoor or outdoor football. However, I had to decide on which one I'd like to pursue as I progressed, and decided to stick with outdoor. Whilst I haven't received a FIFA badge, I'm proud of my achievements refereeing at the highest level in Australian women's football, and made some great friends along the way. So I think having made all those friends along the way and had that support there, it's kept me involved. But refereeing has also helped me in building personal development, in dealing with situations and people management, which applies with everyday life. So I think it's made me a better person by staying involved as well.
So I'm hearing having a goal, and also being aware of what the skills being on the pitch in whatever capacity brings to other aspects of your life in terms of skills.
Yep.
Particularly as a referee, I think you would have very good people management skills.
Yeah.
So it's so wonderful to have panelists with experience across all areas of football here tonight. What I'm really interested to know is how you juggle your football commitments with your parenting commitments. So Alison, with the 3 kids and the dog in the background, I'm going to start with you because, I mean, you're modelling that juggling tonight for us. You have taken on every opportunity to be involved in football, as a player, as a coach, as a volunteer, as a parent. How do you find the time to balance being the parent of 3 young children, your work and your passion for football?
Yeah, so it's probably not always ideal, because I tend to let my passion overtake my, I guess, the practical side of things sometimes. But for me and for my children, football is a very big part of our lives, because I think it's a little bit intertwined with what Kelly's saying, and even Denise, from a wellbeing perspective. I really want my kids out on the pitch. I want them doing something. I want them active. So if I have to forego other things, or if I have to move things around in my life to accommodate their training sessions or their desires to do sport, I'm willing to do that, because I feel it has more value than being sedentary or being doing extra homework. And that's probably quite controversial, but the impact that football has had on our lives has been substantial in terms of all of us, like bringing us all together. So it's not always ideal, and sometimes I get to the end of a weekend and I think, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But ultimately I love it, and I think if I model that behavior for my children as well, they want to be out there on the pitch and they want to be involved, and they see the impact that sport can have on other people's lives. And just for example, I was really proud of my little one tonight at Academy. She's meant to be trialing, but instead of worrying about her performance, she actually stopped and helped this other kid that she didn't even know and picked that kid up off the ground. And for me, that is worth more to me, and that's what football brings to our life, than her even getting that little piece of paper saying she's got into Academy. So football is very much a family, which a very amazing Jodie told me a long time ago. And whilst the balance is not perfect and it sometimes doesn't always work, it definitely is a priority in our lives, and we just do our best to make it work.
Thank you. And Kelly, so you've been on the A-League Women's Referee Panel and New South Wales State League Panel for 10 years. And you've had 2 children during that time. How have you balanced your refereeing career with parenting?
It definitely comes with its challenges. That involves a lot of planning and commitment that many people probably don't recognise. That's like from training to food prep into scheduling games with my family to ensure that my kids are cared for, even though that they do attend a lot of my games. Just depends on the weather, just to ensure that they can come, sort of thing. And like Mason, like I said before, he has his own little pair of soccer boots. He just loves coming. So we always try to, bring him to the football as much as possible because he loves to be there. So I'm fortunate enough to have such a supporting husband who plays in the NPL, and he also understands my commitments, along with my parents who've always, been involved in football, and they actually enjoy coming to whether it's my game or my husband's game. And and my dad actually still referees in the NWS as well. So we're such a big football family, and I feel like it's in our blood. So something natural to continue doing it all. Yeah.
So again, the village helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like your point, Alison, about it. The balance doesn't have to be perfect. You just kind of, you know, kids are pretty resilient, right? If you don't have it, you know, perfect, or the dinner's not on the table at the right time because you've been attending a working party meeting, you know, kids can be pretty resilient. So it's interesting you mentioned the modeling behavior for your family as well. Like that's really important to you, because that moves us on to, I guess, the next kind of topic, which is improving participation across the game. So we know, so AusPlay data shows that 73% of children that have at least one active parent participate in an organised sport or physical activity outside of school. And participation rises to 88% when at least one parent is both physically active but also involved in a non-playing role, so in those volunteer coaching and managing roles. So I'm going to go to Denise and Alison. What would you say to a parent who's contemplating putting their hand up to volunteer to take that next step? Alison, I'm going to start with you.
So this has been my big thing. I think I'm very passionate about parent involvement and people taking on those coaching and managing roles, because it obviously, as I'm sure we're all aware, it's not something that people put their hand up for very quickly, but they want their kids to be involved. So just from personal experience, when I have coached and I've coached all of my kids' teams at various times or managed, and it brings such joy to them. Like it changes the way they approach the game. They are very enthusiastic and excited about the fact that their parent is involved and supportive of their sport. So like going back to modeling, I think that's sort of what we need to do potentially more as a football community, is actually model that sort of behavior and show that enthusiasm that our kids are, you know, so excited to be out on the field and the pitch, but we have to support them in doing so. So when we register our children, you know, to play football or to be involved in a sport, I think we also as parents need to be like of the mindset that we might have to actually give something back as well, because I don't think it all happens just, you know, oh, someone else will do it or someone else will take up that role. And I can't express enough how much it gives back to you as a parent as well if you are involved in your child's sport. It just it changes you, and I think that is why I feel like I'm always the first to put my hand up, which is a bit silly for everything, but it is really rewarding for you as much as it is for your child.
Fantastic. I'm glad you get something out of it too, not just paperwork and headaches.
Has to work both ways, Tracy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it does. I mean, I think it's a really important point that we miss sometimes. You know, we talk about parents and, you know, the role they play to facilitate their children playing, but we often miss the kind of the bounce back and the positives that us as parents also get by doing that.
Yeah. It's the little sparkle in their eyes that they're, you know, they're excited to have you there.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
And Denise, what's your advice? What would you say to a parent who's thinking about volunteering?
I think definitely put up your hand to volunteer, because not only will you find it rewarding, your child will be so happy that you've done it. And I think by you being there and being in that volunteer role, as your child approaches their teens, it will help them through, because you're always there, you're a constant. And you've got to remember that when you have children, they go to school and they're at school for a big part of the day, and at night they're doing homework or, you know, training, and there's not a lot of time with them. So if you spend as much time as possible with them, and that could be going to their training sessions or their game on the weekend, I think that all helps improve their self-esteem and just being around other kids. And it's like there's so many benefits. Like learning to work as a team, and they have a common goal in that team, and I guess communicating within that team. But I think the biggest thing is, and I think a lot of studies have shown this, that the greatest thing you can get out of our sport is the children's mental health. And I think I've really noticed that along the way. It's been a very long journey, but I've definitely been, I've witnessed a lot of it, lots of girls, and yeah, I think it's mental health. I think it can have a great effect. So definitely put up your hand. And I just did the West Pennant Hills, I've been looking after the mini roos there this year, and there was a lot of parents. You put the team together and tell the parents, these are the kids in this team, introduce them all to each other and say, now who wants to be coach or manager? And they all kind of like, they're trying to get away, don't want to do it, and especially the mums. And I said, well, you know what, when my daughter started here at West Pennant Hills, I put up my hand to be her coach, so it's okay if you're female, you can still do it. And a lot of them kind of sat back and like stood back for me and really, and I said, yeah. And as a consequence of just saying that, we got a couple of female coaches. So yeah, definitely put up your hand if you want to make a difference in your child's life. It works both ways.
And Kelly, I guess your kids are a bit too young at the moment, but I'm going to put you on the spot to think back. I guess you mentioned earlier on that your parents are heavily involved in the game. I know your dad still referees. What was it like for you as a child watching your parents volunteer and participate?
Yeah, it's definitely very good. So my dad used to coach my brother's team, and then when I started playing, he actually started coaching my team as well. And my mum also was playing as well, in like I don't know, over 30s or over 40s team at the time, and watching my mum versus teenage girl teams, and that my mum's team was beating the younger girl team too, was also very inspiring for me. So just having my whole family always involved in football, I guess it really helped me find my passion in football as well. So yes, I think I want my children to be involved in some sort of sport as well. That'll keep them, I don't know, growing and having fun like I did.
And will you fight with your husband over who coaches which team?
No fighting there. Actually, we get the question more often as, what are my boys going to do? Are they going to play or are they going to referee? So,
and you're going to say both, right?
Yeah. I'm all for playing. I wish I could still play, but I wasn't very skillful back when I was playing. So I'll stick to refereeing, I think.
Fair enough. And we'll stick with you, Kelly, if that's okay. Sorry, yep. I feel like
that's okay.
Yep. So you made the progression from refereeing at Gladstone Park to refereeing in front of 14,000 people at Etihad Stadium. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to a parent of a player or referee who wants to progress into that representative football space?
Yeah, so my main advice is to continue encouraging your children and staying positive whilst they are enjoying it. I have come across many hurdles within my refereeing career, whether it was mistakes, decisions, injuries, or comments from other people that make stopping the easy choice. But I've moved on, and I've proved to others and myself that like anything is possible. So yeah, continue. Don't give up.
Amazing. To Denise, question. So we've seen a big increase in our over 30s and over 40s competitions within Northwest Sydney football. As the women's competition manager, what has been the best part of seeing these competitions grow?
It's good because I'm old like them, so it's a great thing. But no, I just can't believe the growth. To be honest, I think our over 30s, we started women's over 30. It was actually over 35s back then in 2009, and we started out with 7 teams. And today, we actually moved to over 30s to be in line with Football New South Wales State Cup and Champion of Champions. And I think today we've got 2 divisions of over 30s, and really we were going to try and make it 3 divisions, but there were kind of 2 very good teams and not so good the other teams. So we've got 10 teams in one division and 8 in the other, and that's 18 teams. So to go from having 7 teams to nearly 3 divisions, it's a big growth. The best part of of seeing the growth is so many mums getting out there and having a go. So rather than sitting on the sidelines, or they actually do sit on the sidelines still and watch their child, they actually go out and have a go themselves, and that's the greatest thing I've witnessed. But actually on the weekend I heard one mum was telling a player in the other team that she's only been playing for a year, and the lady said to her, "Oh wow, you're really good," and she said, "Why didn't you start playing earlier?" And I heard her say to her, "Well, I'm Italian and I had to do the cooking." So I kind of thought, wow, that's a great thing to hear, when you hear their mums come out of the kitchen to the field to actually do something she enjoys. And so it's not just her kids on the football field anymore. And I guess it's great to see women's all different shapes, sizes. Some are fit, some are not fit, but they're all out there with a common sort of thing, and that's to have a good time and meet new people and have friends. And it's just great. I love seeing it. And this year in over 40s, we've actually started off over 40s. It was 2020, and we had 5 teams. So we always say when we're building a competition, it's ideal to have 6 teams. We didn't quite have 6, but we thought 5's good enough to get it off the ground. We had 5 and varying skill levels, but we kept going. And then the next year, I'm pretty sure we doubled that. We went to 10 teams, which was pretty much, no, it was 9 teams actually, sorry. And now this year we've got 14 teams in the over 40s and 2 divisions. So amazing growth there, and I think it will just continue to grow, because what I've seen is other mothers who come to watch another game might see these women on the field and think, oh, hang on, they're around my age, and they'll come and ask the question, and you say, yeah, anyone can play, you've just got to find a team. And when they see someone else doing it, they're more likely to do it themselves. And yeah, it's
so they're
great
not just modelling for their kids, they're modelling for other parents out there as well, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
And like you said, seeing out on the fields women of all shapes and sizes and skill level and age is always really amazing.
Yeah, and again, it's building that new friendship, that football family again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got one more question. This one's for Alison before we open up for questions. I can see shadows in the background. Sorry, Alison. So you and your daughter were involved in the recent CommBank advertising campaign, the Changing the Game. How was it being involved with that with your daughter, firstly? And what do you think she gained from that experience and seeing herself as a face of change?
So it was super positive. I'm just going to ask Evie, can you just mute for a minute? Just turn it off for a minute. They've just turned the television on. Sorry.
Right, you're fine. Do not apologise.
The joys.
We should bring Evie in and she can answer the question.
Yeah, Evie, come here with come. Put that away though. What's in your mouth? Yeah. They have lollipops. I'm sorry.
Just stop apologising.
Yeah. So what the reason, so we got an email just to clarify the situation, asking us to apply to be part of that advertising campaign, and it was based on the fact that we try to give back to the football community, so not just through Evie and I loving the game and want to sort of really support female inclusion. So Evie's had a lot of eyesight problems since she was born, and it was us trying to, we raised money through creating recycled stickers for the Fred Hollows Foundation. So, and they are based on saying things like believe in your dreams and follow your dreams, and with a little soccer ball. So we kind of got asked to participate in that campaign based on that we are trying to help the community. And how did you feel? It was a good experience for you to be part of that campaign. And we've just found out they want to extend the campaign, and they want her to, particularly the photos that they took of Evie, they want to continue having them on billboards and things up until later in the year, to try and also I guess encourage other girls to be involved in football. And that's what our goal was when we started our little sticker campaign as well, not only to raise money for Fred Hollows, but to encourage other girls to have a go and just get involved, because it doesn't matter like what your abilities are, and whether you have great eyesight and not great eyesight, whether you have any sort of thing going on, you can be involved in this amazing sport, because it's made a difference to our lives. So we wanted to put that forward, and CommBank supported us and wanted Evie to be involved, and me in the background in that campaign as well.
So Evie, can I ask you,
Mm-hmm.
how proud are you of Mum?
Pretty proud.
Yeah?
Yeah.
She does a good job promoting girls playing football.
Yeah.
Yeah? And are you pretty proud of yourself too when you see yourself on a billboard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Well done. I love every time I see the advert, and I love every time I drive on Pennant Hills Road and I get to see your face smiling back at me. So good job, ladies. Thank you. See, movement of change can start at such a young age.
Yeah.
And it comes from the parent too.
Hope.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm gonna pause there. I feel like we've done lots of talking. And we've got a few people, hopefully we're going to have more watching this, but we've got a few people online. I wanted to see if there were any questions, anyone wanted to discuss anything, open it up for comments. People want to talk about their experience being a parent of a footballer, the challenges as well as the successes. We've talked about a lot of the positives tonight, but obviously it also can be really challenging balancing being a parent and every other commitment. So I thought I would open it up to the floor. I can't see everybody, so. We're all very quiet. Yes, Jody. Oh, sorry, Emma, that's your job.
Sorry, Operator Rera. Talking about my own experience as a kid and parenting role models and things of that nature. So I didn't have the best examples of parenting role models, but what I did have was quality time with really good adults who gave me good grounding in this sport from the time I was about 9. And so some of my best examples of good adult behaviour and good humans has come through this sport. So even when you're thinking about, God almighty, do I have the time as a parent? I've got so much else going on. You just can't know what an influence you could actually be to another kid out there that's not getting the best at home. Football does that, did it for me, and you can do it for someone else too. And there's so much that you get paid dividends. It's just good human stuff. So I can only commend it to you. I coached a little boys football team back in the very, very early 1990s. And a few years ago now, I went to a local motorcycle shop having a bit of a look around, and I saw this young man down the back, and it's being a bit unusual. And the salesperson said, that young fella said that you used to coach him as a goalkeeper at Blacktown Workers, and he said that you were the best coach he ever had. And it was just such a beautiful reunion with this man that I'd coached when he was 8, 9, 10 and 11 years of age. So these are the kinds of connections that you cannot realise how long they last and what a positive memory it leaves with people. So that's all I had to say. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Jody. And I'm interested, the people who are on here tonight, are we preaching to the choir? Like, are you guys parents who are, clearly volunteering? I can see we've got North Epping Rangers Director of Football on, so therefore you're clearly volunteering, and supporting female football. But the other people on, are you parents thinking about what to do, or are we on just to kind of hear and be interested? Caroline. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm helping manage one of the teams. I'm just at home with COVID, so it was a good opportunity to listen in, because we'd normally be at training earlier this afternoon as well. So, but it's been really good hearing the stories and just seeing the passion in the room. It encouraging. Yeah, I think like from my personal perspective, I think I can see some challenges in terms of the girls and their focus. But I'm sure that kind of comes in that.
I can see it says under sixes next to you. Yeah, they don't have focus. It'll come.
Yeah.
So do you coach your daughter's team, or are you just volunteering coaching in general? Or
yeah, I'm actually one of the managers.
Okay.
So there's another guy that's coaching him. He plays football. I played football growing up, and then switching to rugby later on. But yeah, it's been really great. They're loving it. When we went along to, I guess, the initial stuff, my wife, sorry, like others in the room, I think she then joined the over 30s team as well. So it's been really great. Like I've got 3 daughters, so Emmy's the first of 3, but the others are loving being on the sidelines. It's just been really great. Just, getting out there all day, just soaking it up. It's been great.
So it sounds like Tim is kind of the opposite way. Normally we're trying to get the women into playing football, but it actually seems like it's you that we need to get into playing football.
Yeah, I actually thought about playing, but I don't know, I thought we'd one step at a time with the 2 of them.
Lots of men's divisions. There's over 30s, there's over 40s, whatever you fit, we'll find a spot for you as well.
Yeah.
It's nice that we have to get the dads involved instead of the mums. It's quite novel. I like that. Caroline, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi. I'm the women's manager at Macquarie Dragons. Our whole family is involved in football, and my girls play. My son's played for Northwest Sydney. My husband Sharif is the director of coaching at Dragons, so we sort of live and breathe it. So this stuff is all like just a given for us, but just stepping into the women's manager role, and it happened to my daughters too, like they're now in their early 20s, but in that 18s period when the HSC's on, and with our 18-1s team this year, they need like a few more in the squad just to not make it such a struggle, but to find those girls, because sometimes the school only wants them to play for the schools, and then it's like the others are like, oh no, I want to focus on the HSC. And so like I'd love an avenue to really encourage, to stay on during the HSC period. And then, like obviously when they finish the HSC, other social aspects come in and, they want to sort of participate in that. But we've found the ones that do stay on during 18s in the HSC then continue on to the all-age women.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I mean, just, I don't know whether it's providing more female coaches at that age group.
I think it's also working with the schools, because the schools also know this research. The schools know that it is a balance for playing, to study. You can't spend 24 hours a day studying. So there needs to be a balance. But I don't know if that message always gets through to our young women in that kind of moment of that HSC year.
Yeah.
And I think the other thought that I have around this is some of the stuff we're doing at the association level around different formats. So do we need them to be training once or twice a week and, spending 2 hours on a Sunday? Is that too much time realistically for these girls and the boys? And do we need to move to that more social framework of football where they might play on a Friday night for an hour, and that's better than nothing if it keeps them kind of moving and social and in the game? So
potentially, yeah.
But I think schools play a role, families play a role, and us as the association play a role as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see some more focus on keeping that group intact.
Yeah.
And building on it.
Yeah.
So it's from that transition of teenage through to adults.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, when I was young, because, I'm with Denise. I was one of the foundation 40s teams, and I wasn't allowed to play soccer when I was young. Only the boys could play. So our family, had a choice of, you have to choose a sport. And so I chose, I went to netball, and I'm sorry for the netball people, but I hated it. And anyway, so I went to tennis, and I played tennis into my 30s. And then finally, when my kids, I wasn't running around for them as much, I got into soccer, and I was like, this is what I wanted to do ever since I saw my brother play when he was little. So I'm a huge advocate for female football. So I'd love really more promotion, more female refs, definitely female coaches, definitely. So, when my legs start to give up, I'm intending to coach. So I'm time poor. I don't have enough time.
Yeah. And you, the forum we're running next week, next Monday, the results of the female participation survey that have now been endorsed by the board. Absolutely, female coaches was like really high up there. So that's part of the focus of the working party, is to really build engagement across all facets of participation for females. So it's fantastic to hear we've already got you lined up for coaching.
I just need more hours in my day. But no, I think that could make a difference too, because sometimes teenage girls don't like the male coaches that we have on the female teams in our club are fantastic. The way they speak to them and all of that, it's really great. But I do think it makes a difference for girls, that especially relating to, and seeing a female coaching them and, being successful.
And potentially a young female coaching them too, who's kind of, maybe in university or just finished university, that can again model that you can do this during your HSC.
Yeah. Okay.
Alison, I think you had your hand up.
You're on mute.
I did, but I was conscious of time, Trace, sorry, and just pulled it back down. But I just wanted to kind of second and encourage what Carolyn was saying, because I'm sorry again about the noise in the background, but the teaching point of view, we have a lot of our year 12 and 11 kids drop out, particularly of sport, and it just has such a well-being perspective, value for them when they're doing their HSC. And so I agree, if we can sort of work toward putting something together, and I think we're sort of doing that within our working party a little bit, but trying to encourage both male and female participation throughout those sort of year 11, year 12 years is just vital, really, for their mental health whilst they're undergoing those sort of periods of their life and trying to continue through to university level. So I was just kind of in support of that. I think it's really good. We need to focus.
Absolutely.
I think it's good when you've got daughters too and they go to school. And I used to say to Brooke, there must be girls at your school when we're trying to fill teams where you see them in the playground and they might not have any friends or something like that. Why don't you go up to those girls and give them a flyer and see if they'll come join, and then they'll join the crowd and they'll have friends. And we were very successful in doing that. And there was a lot of girls that were very introverted and not that popular at school, but you brought them to soccer and they fitted in. They found a home.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to that, creating a community and creating a football family. And I think it really is such a valuable experience and something that our kids should really be involved in if we can keep them there for that high school, period as well.
Yeah.
So I am also conscious of time. I'm just putting up, hopefully you can see, says participants can now see your screen, so hopefully, just a couple of resources that, if you want to have a look at a bit of some of the research around participation, how parents can support mental health during HSC. And I would really like to take the opportunity to thank our three panelists for their time and their insights tonight, Thank you for the people who have spoken and given your perspective as well from the participants, the group. It's been really interesting, and hopefully everyone's taken something away from tonight. As I said, we're here to give answers and tell people how to parent. It's more about having a think about the role that we all play and the benefits both the kids and parents get from participating. So as mentioned, this was organised by the Working Party in conjunction with the Association's Female Football Week's activities. As a reminder, we have our second Female Football Forum on next Monday, the 16th. So this is the second one we've run for the year, and the topics are a little bit broader, but also loop back to what we spoke about at the first forum. I think it was in about February. So at that forum, we're going to celebrate the end of Female Football Week with some highlights of events from different clubs across the 10 days, with a kind of an idea and a focus of getting clubs to be inspired for 2023. We're heading into our World Cup year. We want Female Football Week for 2023 to be massive, and so we'll have lots of pictures and people to talk about what they've done this year. If your club has not done anything or you want to expand on what you've done, come along. We'll also be launching both the results and recommendations from the female participation survey that we did earlier this year. So that report has been endorsed by Northwest Sydney Football's board. So those recommendations will hopefully slowly progress throughout the year, as well as it being the 40th anniversary of female football in Sydney's Northwest. So there is a little history that we'll take you through, and we'll get an update from the Legacy 23 program as well. So varied topics for next week, but hopefully you can join us then, and conscious of time. So again, thank you. If anything's come up for you that you need to discuss, you can reach out to the association through our normal general inquiries line. If you want to get involved in participating further, do the same thing. And thank you once again to Kelly and to Alison and to Denise for their time tonight. Really appreciate it. Go forth and enjoy your evening. Hopefully we'll see you next week.